This is one of those games that sat on my wish list for a long time. When its sequel was announced, I had a renewed interest, and on a whim, I looked up to see whether it received a physical edition of any, and I found this limited physical collector's edition on a website called Gamefairy. The collector in me just couldn't resist. Looking into it, I found that Gamefairy appeared to be similar to limited run games, but centered more on the European market. Luckily for me, the Switch is region free, so I paid the $57 and grabbed myself one of the collector's editions. In all honesty, this video is kind of just an excuse to show it off, so let me do that first. Alright, so I don't have the best setup for something like this, but we have here the box. As you can see, it was PEGI rated because this is from the Europe place. You got the game's box art on the slipcover, and you slide it out of the slipcover. And you've got this Gamefairy branded box here. Gamefairy branding on the sides. I believe I put the game back in here, so open that up. So you got this little stamp as part of the little collector's edition. Let's see, it's number 3. Let's see, in there. And then over here we have a card. This is number 543 out of 1,000. You know, a certificate of authenticity. And the next cool thing we have is the soundtrack. I've not opened this yet, but I'll be pulling the CD, I'll be ripping the CD so that I can get the audio for this video, so I will have to open it, but right now it's still in its podcast. It's one of those digipack type things. The next thing is fabric. I can't remember how to open this. Here. Is a fabric of that vehicle. I don't know if it's called the Okomotive. That is the name of the developer, so maybe that is the name of the vehicle as well. But got a little fabric thing. And then next in here is the art book. Which, you know, has words, but also concept art. Which is a pretty cool little thing. I think art books are cool. Just skipping through it. Get an idea of it. Obviously, if you really want to read this here, you'll probably have to go get yourself a copy. I'm not going to sit and scan the whole book. I don't really have the time for that, or the desire to do that. So, a cool little art book with all sorts of stuff in it. And the scenes, little information. Dev team there. And the last thing in here is the game itself. Now, this game, it actually has instructional booklet, which I'll get into in a moment, but it has, this is the one I have an inside here, that is the cover that is default, and then it has an alternate cover that's just a bit more, it's a bit less like store shelf trying to sell you things. I think it looks a little nicer. So, there's that. And look at this instructional booklet. story setup, controls, some basic tips. You know, just like your old school type of instructional booklet, but this is very small compared to some of them. And that's everything in the box. You got this little thing where the game sits. That's all of it. So I'll just slide all this back in here. Yeah, it's a pretty cool little thing, and like I said, I spent $57 on it, like almost $60, but that was tax and shipping. That was after tax and shipping, and that's also USD. The price will show up as more when you look at it until you put in your location, and then you'll get a more location-specific price. So don't let that scare you off if you really want one. Yeah, it's a cool little special edition, and I mean, they even still have non-collector's edition physical copies, so this is a game that's interesting to you? Yeah. So yeah, it's a cool little collector's edition from an interesting little online shop. I appreciate the people that put in the effort to ensure the art of physical games media doesn't die and is at least somewhat accessible to smaller indie titles. As for the game itself, Far Lone Sails is a relatively short, my playthrough was around 3 hours, experience that's pretty cool. The design and art direction are really compelling, and the game is short enough that the borderline management gameplay doesn't get too stressful or annoying. The game is really just an emotional and relatively chill experience, though some of the big set pieces can be a bit stressful. Okay, maybe it's a bit more than a bit stressful, but the interim sections can be very chill with you just riding and keeping your vehicle refueled and whatnot. The way that you build up the vehicle with little upgrades and have to fix problems and put out fires really builds this relationship between the player and the vehicle and turns the vehicle into a character of the game. It's the other character. It has a sort of personality of its own, and you have these non-verbal conversations. The relationship you build with the vehicle throughout the game is also pretty poignant. From here, I'm going to talk about the ending, basically the last 10 to 15 minutes, so big spoiler warning. Skip forward to the next chapter if you want to skip the spoilers. The end of the game is this bittersweet thing. After the volcano erupts and the dust is obscuring everything, you drive off this small drop-off and the vehicle breaks in two. For a moment, all feels lost, then the wind picks up. Catches your sails, and you're moving once again. Your one companion throughout the game is beaten and battered now as it pulls you across this graveyard of other broken vehicles of its kind and takes you all the way up to the shore, where it finally comes to a rest, leaving you to set the signal fire and hope for rescue. It's so bittersweet. The vehicle that carried you all this way, that you upgraded and fixed and managed, that you grew attached to throughout your journey, is busted and broken after carrying you all the way, and you most likely have to leave it behind to survive. There's something meaningful and poignant there, the impermanence of it all. And that's the end of the spoiler talk, so welcome back people who skipped that. Far Lone Sails and its limited collector's edition are both pretty cool pieces to own, especially for someone who likes games as art, and the more artsy side of things. As I stated towards the start of this video, this was mostly an excuse for me to show off the collector's edition because I think it's a cool piece for a cool game. If any of what I talked about sounded interesting to you, there'll be links in the description to the game and to the Gamefairy store page for the collector's edition. As of writing this, there still seems to be stock for it, but it's limited to 1,000 copies, so you might want to act quickly if there's something you particularly want. Anyway, that's all I've got to say for this video. Links in the description. Like, dislike, subscribe, comment, share, etc. Do the things. Do the things. And anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!